And I suppose, Darren, these strikes will be pretty high up the agenda.
Yeah, indeed, and I think they will be at this cabinet meeting that's also taking place in Downing Street this morning, Tom. Clearly this is going to have a big impact on millions of people across the country. Ministers this morning, including Will Quince, trying to bat away suggestions that people will not be able to seek medical attention, effectively get an ambulance in an emergency in certain parts of the country later on this week. You know, if you have a heart attack or a stroke, can the government guarantee that there will be an ambulance there within any sort of time? Beg a couple of hours, they cannot. And that is why this clearly is a big, tricky political issue for the government. As you say, the Prime Minister is going to be at that liaison committee at 3 p.m. this afternoon. 14 committee chairs. You bet your bottom dollar, of course, strikes will definitely come up. Rishi Sunak, though, showing no sign that he's willing to compromise on all of this. The Nurses Union, for example, insist all they want to do is get round the table and talk about pay, and these strikes will be put on hold. The Prime Minister insisted, though, that the government is talking about pay in the sense that they've agreed already to the independent bodies setting of pay, but ultimately they cannot look at some of these pay demands in the round because that would fuel, they would say, the very cause of what's all behind this inflation. It would make things worse. And it seems that the Prime Minister is digging his heels in, if you like, that he's prepared for these strikes to go on for months. Now, that is not to say, though, all Conservative MPs are on the same page on all of this. Some of them are particularly concerned about the political impact it may well have on the Conservatives' popularity, but also just the practical aspects of this, Tom. There's talk about drafting in the army to do certain things, but there have been lots of reports in the papers this morning saying that effectively the army cannot, for example, drive ambulances in the way that paramedics can. They can't necessarily turn on the blue lights. They cannot kind of break rules on the roads, etc., so that they are not going to really fulfil the role in the way necessary. And I think some Conservative MPs are getting slightly uneasy given the scale of this industrial action and the fact that there is no end in sight. In saying that, it's not going to be just strikes in front of this liaison committee. 14 committee chairs, ranging from everything from COP27 to the war in Ukraine, to the UK's place in the world, the cost of living crisis and the economy too. As you say, it is the first time Rishi Sunak would have appeared in front of the committee. Last time, it was Boris Johnson 6 months ago. He resigned the next day. I suspect today might be a little less dramatic.